She knows.
I'd like to.
The Queen of England is playing a game of 4D chess that makes the sheriff look like a toddler, and she just figured out the biggest secret in Nottingham without even trying. But the real bomb drops when Marian finally hears the truth about her brother's death, and it doesn't come from Robin. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are diving deep into the political snake pit that is Robin Hood Episode 6. If you thought the arrows flying in the last episode were dangerous, wait until you see the whispers flying around the dinner table in this one. We are dealing with treason, secret identities, illicit affairs, and a royal visit that threatens to burn Nottingham to the ground. Let's get into it. So, we pick up right in the aftermath of that adrenaline-fueled rescue mission from the previous episode. Remember how Robert Locksley, who is rapidly transforming into the legend we know as Robin Hood, led that daring raid to save the Miller siblings from execution? Well, the dust hasn't even settled, and the reality of the situation is crashing down on everyone. For Robert and his band of merry men, the days of living a double life are officially over. They have crossed a line in the sand. There is no going back to being simple farmers or foresters. They are full-blown outlaws now, striking fear into the heart of the English royal court. But while Robert is dealing with his new reality in the forest, the real pressure cooker is inside Nottingham Castle. The Sheriff of Nottingham is sweating bullets. But because Queen Eleanor is coming. And if you know anything about history or this show, you know you do not want Queen Eleanor showing up at your doorstep unannounced. She had previously sent her right-hand man, William Marshall, the Earl of Pembroke, to scope things out. She wanted to know why on earth the sheriff needed to bring in expensive army units from Warwick and Leicester just to deal with a few bandits. Marshall saw everything. He saw the tactical brilliance of Robert's attack. He saw that this wasn't just a rabble of peasants, this was an organized resistance. When he reported this back to Eleanor, she realized she couldn't sit this one out. She suspects that for a group of outlaws to be this effective, they must have help from the inside. Someone in authority. And that suspicion brings her straight to Nottingham. Before the Queen arrives, the sheriff tries to get his house in order. He calls a tense meeting with the local Saxon leaders. These are men who have sworn oaths to the king and the Norman rulers, trying to keep the peace. The sheriff is furious about the attack on his daughter, Priscilla, and he is convinced the Saxons are behind it. He demands they warn the outlaws to stop. The Saxon leaders push back, asking for proof. And this is where the Bishop of Hereford chips in with his usual bias. He points out that only Norman soldiers were killed and Saxon prisoners were freed. To the Norman leadership, this screams Saxon rebellion. What they are completely missing, and what makes this show so interesting, is that Friar Tuck, a Catholic, is part of the crew. This isn't just a Saxon uprising. Robin Hood is becoming a symbol for everyone, crossing religious and ethnic lines. But the sheriff is too blinded by his own prejudice to see that yet. The atmosphere shifts drastically when Queen Eleanor's carriage rolls into the castle courtyard. You can cut the tension with a knife. The sheriff tries to play it cool, framing the outlaw issue as a Norman-Saxon power struggle, but he's terrified of admitting the truth to the Queen, that he's lost control. Eleanor, however, sees right through everyone. She is a force of nature. From the moment she steps out, she looks completely out of place in this provincial castle, but in the best way possible. She is strong, confident, and frankly, she intimidates the hell out of the men in the room. She immediately starts poking holes in their egos. She mocks the bishop for wearing extravagant jewelry while preaching about humility. She listens to the Earl of Huntingdon, Marian's father, who is already drunk and ranting about how incompetent the sheriff is for not catching Robert Locksley. Now, pause here for a second. This is dramatic irony at its finest. The Earl is trashing the sheriff for not catching Robert Locksley, not realizing that he is talking about the very outlaw terrorizing them. Nobody at the table knows Robert is Robin Hood. The sheriff just waves off Huntingdon's rant as the ramblings of a drunkard, missing a massive clue right under his nose. But why is the Queen really here? She didn't travel all this way just to roast the bishop. She has a plan, and it is devious. She pulls out a document, a writ. She wants every earl, baron, and lord in the Midlands to sign it. This writ declares a state of emergency in the Midlands due to the outlaw threat. On the surface, it looks like she's trying to get help. She claims she needs to send this to King Henry II, who is currently living in France, to force him to bring his army back to England to restore order. Here is the twist: Eleanor hates her husband. They are in a massive power struggle. She wants Henry back in England not to help the sheriff, but so she can keep an eye on him. She wants to control him, specifically his health and his decisions. Even more than that, she wants to exert her own dominance over the English lords. By making them sign this writ, she is forcing them to pledge allegiance to her while the king is away. She is effectively saying, "I am the boss here." Most of the lords are ready to sign. They see it as a win-win. They prove their loyalty, and the king comes back to squash Robin Hood. Simple, right? Not for the sheriff. The sheriff of Nottingham is the only one in the room smart enough, or perhaps loyal enough, to see the trap. He knows Eleanor. He knows she wants to overshadow Henry and position her favorite son, Prince Richard, as the next king. To the sheriff, signing this writ is an act of cowardice. It's admitting he can't do his job. But more importantly, it's a betrayal of his cousin, King Henry II. He knows that if he signs this, he is helping Eleanor maneuver Henry into a corner. So, while everyone else is scrambling for a quill, the sheriff refuses. He holds out. This sets up a massive conflict between him and the Queen that simmers throughout the episode.